How's my volume, Roberta? Sounding good?
Loud and clear.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, Peter. Nancy here.
Hi, Nancy. Welcome.
Thank you.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Let me try my video. I'm actually at home, so I'm on my phone. So see how that works with video.
Yeah, we can see you.
Really? Good. All right. Excellent. I'm gonna turn my camera off until I'm ready.
Sounds great. Yeah, you'll be second on. Okay.
And my speaker too. Yep. Oh, by the way, so just so you know, I haven't had a chance to talk to Tasha, but I'm going to ask Bjorn Griekenberg. He's a planner that works for me to assist me on my item. So he's going to actually be promoted to the co-host, and he'll do the screen sharing and he'll do some of the slides. So just FYI.
Okay. We'll have Secretary Atha promote Bjorn then when he's on.
Yeah, and promote both of us. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for that.
No problem.
Councilmember Rogers, I see that your hand's raised as an attendee. I tried to promote you to panelist, but I have allowed you to speak if you need to let us know something. Councilmember Rogers, are you able to hear us?
Hi. Peter,
Hi.
can you hear me?
We can hear you now, yes.
You can?
Yes.
That nod means yes? Okay. Can we please promote phone number ending in 7685?
Yes, I'll rename it to remove some part of the number and then promote. Thank you. It's not allowing me to make the phone number a panelist. Is that Mayor Rogers?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll rename it to Mayor Rogers and just give permission to talk. I don't think I can promote to panelist.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, for the sake of time, and to honor everyone's time, it is 4:03, and Mayor Rogers is unable to chair the meeting today, so myself, Councilwoman Rogers, will be chairing the meeting, and I would like to call the meeting to order at 4:03. Ms. Roberta, can you please call the roll?
Mayor Rogers.
Here.
Councilmember McDonald. And Councilmember Rogers.
Present. We are now taking public comment for item 2, public comment on non-agenda items. This is a time when any person may address the subcommittee on matters not listed on this agenda, but which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the subcommittee. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Miss Roberta, can you please put the timer on and also call the names as they appear?
Yes. Co-host, if you could share the timer screen, and it looks like we have one hand raised, Eris Weaver. I'll allow that person to talk, and you can go ahead and unmute.
Thank you. This is Eris Weaver. I'm the Executive Director of the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition. And we all know that transportation is one of our biggest contributors to climate change, and that so many of trips locally are within 2 miles or less, which is a perfect distance to ride a bike. And May just happens to be National Bike Month. And so I just wanted to remind people of that fact. And we have a host of activities going on throughout the month, including the Ride of Silence on the 18th, which is a ride in memorial for cyclists who have been killed on our roads. And on May 20th is Bike to Work Day, and there will be a variety of Energizer stations in different places throughout the county, including a happy hour at the end of the day. Information on all of this stuff is available on our website at bikesonoma.org/BTWD for Bike to Work Day. I hope you will consider participating. Thank you.
Yeah. Are there any additional public comments?
It looks like that's the only hand raised.
Thank you. Looks like that is our final speaker, so we'll be concluding item 2, public comment at this time. We'll bring it back to the subcommittee and proceed in our normal fashion. We'll call item 3, department reports.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Rogers. Peter Martin filling in for Tasha Wright today. Just wanted to let you know I have no department reports today on the agenda.
Thank you. We will proceed to item 4, new business, and 4.1, which will also be Mr. Peter Martin.
Great. Thank you, Councilman Rogers and members of the subcommittee. Item 4.1 is a County of Sonoma Climate Action and Resiliency Division update and coordination presentation. The presenters from the County of Sonoma will be Barbara Lee, Director of Climate Action and Resiliency, Jane Elias, Manager of the Energy and Sustainability Division, and Anna Yip, Climate Analyst. With that, we'll let them go ahead and proceed with their presentation.
Thank you so much, Peter, and thank you, council members, for inviting us to speak with you today. First, let me just make sure everyone can hear me okay. Oh, fantastic. I am going to share my screen, if that's all right with you. And let's see. And slideshow. I have still not mastered the art of having the presentation up and running and be able to see the meeting at the same time. So apologies for that delay. I am Barbara Lee.
Barbara, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we see the presenter mode. So if you want to switch, if you click on display settings and then switch swap screens. Do you see that down key up at the very top?
There's a little drop down under display settings, and it should allow you to swap.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have display settings. So
It's right, it's just to the left of your mouse.
I see.
Alternatively, I can just share my screen, Barbara.
Why don't you share your screen? I
Okay.
will stop the share. I apologize for the confusion here. The audio in my office is really tricky for some reason that we haven't figured out yet. So I'm sitting at a terminal that I am not used to sitting at, and very much appreciate Anna's support there. So I'm going to try again. I'm Barbara Lee. I am the new Director of the new Climate Action and Resiliency Division in the County Administrator's Office at the County of Sonoma. Some of you might remember me from years ago. I ran the Northern Sonoma County Air Pollution Control District for about 20 years and worked on a lot of air quality and climate issues in this region during that time, and then left in 2014 and joined the Brown administration and ran the Department of Toxic Substances Control until Governor Brown's term ended. And I'm really happy to be back at the county and working in this region again and on such an important issue. I have Jane Elias and Anna Yip with me this afternoon. And Jane, as you all know, is the Manager of Energy and Sustainability for the county. And Anna is an extraordinary climate and resiliency analyst and has just proven it again by stepping up and filling in a gap when I have been unable to make my screen work. So Jane, is there anything that you would like to add about yourself? And then Anna, I'll give you a chance before we jump into the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Barbara. Just quickly, I think haven't been in front of some of you in quite a while, so good to see you. And as Barbara mentioned, managing the Energy and Sustainability Division, and some of the slides you'll be seeing tonight will cover some of the resources and services that we offer through the division and ultimately through the Climate Action and Resiliency Division itself. So look forward to any questions that you might have, and onward, I'll pass it on.
And yes, thanks. I echo what Barbara said. Thank you all for having us. We're excited to be here. The only thing I'll add to what Barbara will jump into here more detail, our strategic plan, our county's strategic plan. And I've been working pretty closely since I was brought on board about a year ago, helping implement the county's strategic plan and trying to coordinate with cities as well. So I've connected with a couple folks here on that effort. But yeah, again, just grateful to be here and looking forward to future collaborations.
Okay, terrific, thanks. So just a quick overview of what I have to talk about with you this evening. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the new Climate Action and Resiliency Division at the county, talk about our role in implementing the county's strategic plan, its Climate Action and Resiliency pillar. There are a few key projects that we're working on that I think might interest you. And then we've identified some opportunities where we think there could be some good collaboration between the county and the city. And there will be time, of course, for questions at the end. And I'm going to just point out that I still carry with me my trusty City of Santa Rosa water cup. It's been with me for about 10 years now, and it's still doing its job. So thank you for that. Moving on. As I mentioned, we have a new division in the County Administrator's Office. The Climate Action and Resiliency Division was created last year, and it's been evolving, and we have now 3 main functions: climate action and resilience, which you would sort of anticipate from our name, and And that's really the part of our group that is focused on the strategic plan and implementation of the strategic plan. We also have energy and sustainability with us now. That change happened in February, and when Carolyn Judy retired from her role as the Director of General Services. And most of General Services is now, as you have probably heard, part of Transportation and Public Works, and Energy and Sustainability has joined the Climate Action and Resiliency Group. There will be a final board decision on the future of all of this organization in July, but we're super happy to be working closely with Jane and her team. And as you know, Energy and Sustainability operates the Sonoma County Energy Independence Program, implements BayREN incentives, has a green business certification program, and also has a program through PG&E, the local government partnership program. And we can talk more about those in detail later, but the general organization of energy and sustainability and what it does has remained intact. It's just now more closely aligned with climate and resilience. And then we are in the process of adding a water resources function to our group. This is largely in response to the impending action by the water boards to approve or give final approval to TMDL, total maximum daily load limits for the lower Russian River. And there's a host of programmatic activities that will flow from that will be implemented by different agents within the county, and our water resources function will be kind of a coordinating function for that implementation. I'm going to move us ahead a slide. Thank you, Anna. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our climate action and resiliency pillar in the board's strategic plan. It has an overarching goal to make Sonoma County carbon neutral by 2030. And it has five goals that support that overarching goal. The first is focused on wildfire preparedness and resiliency. The second on community resiliency, particularly in the energy sector, and carbon neutrality. The third is inward looking, and it's focused on carbon-free and zero waste county facilities. And then we have a sustainability and emissions reduction goal for the county's fleet vehicles. And finally, a planning and policy goal around climate change mitigation and adaptation through land use and conservation. I'm going to talk just a little bit about each of these. Oh, and I do want to say that there are two board members in particular on the board, Supervisors Gorin and Hopkins, who champion climate issues, although the entire board is really pretty engaged in this. They have been the board liaisons for the climate pillar. The structure of how that's going to operate is being reworked at the moment. And so we'll have more in that space probably in the next month or so. But I do want to call out Supervisors Gorin and Hopkins for their leadership roles on this issue. So the first goal that I want to talk about is our wildfire preparedness and resiliency goal. And it has three supporting objectives. The first is focused on community education around fire hardening and carbon neutral construction. And this is something that Jane's Energy and Sustainability Group is active in. And we also have an objective around vegetation management, providing outreach and education and also resources to support vegetation management by landowners. And then lastly, the third objective, to leverage grant funding to support sustainable vegetation management throughout the county. And as you're probably aware, The Agriculture and Open Space District is heading up a vegetation management program, but the Sonoma Water also is doing a lot of work in that area, and Permit Sonoma has the hazard mitigation grant, and at some point we'll have the BRIC grant, and these are also significant contributors to that effort. Our second goal is around community resilience and carbon neutrality. And the first objective supporting that goal is to support community microgrids and general resilience around energy, with the expectation that there will be continue to be grid power interruptions in the future. This is a major focus of the Energy and Sustainability Division. We also have an objective to provide $20 million in financing by 2026 for carbon neutral multifamily housing. So we are obviously looking to the Sonoma County Energy Independence Program to help us achieve this objective, but we are also pursuing grant opportunities, and I believe the city was very helpful in supporting a funding request that we made recently that would advance that initiative. It's an important piece of making sure that the benefits of moving to the green economy and moving to greener energy and greater energy resilience are enjoyed not just by single family homeowners and business owners, but also by those who are renting. And then our third objective is to partner with other government entities, such as the city, as well as educational institutions and nonprofits, on workforce development for carbon neutral and resilient building technologies. And we want to get that off the ground by 2023. The third goal for carbon-free and zero waste and resilient county facilities has three objectives. The first is to design or retrofit county facilities to be carbon neutral and zero waste with resilient construction techniques. The second is to design or retrofit county facilities so that we can promote and maximize telework and reduce the carbon footprint around worker commute. And then the third is to invest in county-owned facilities to establish carbon eliminating microgrid technologies and improve our resilience with regard to potential interruptions from the power grid. And our energy independence group is Energy and Sustainability Division is active in these as well. The fourth goal is sustainable and low emissions county fleet vehicles. We want to the extent possible, phase out combustion, and we are working to achieve a 30% zero emission fleet, the light duty portion of the fleet by 2026. We also are investing in the county's employee clean commute program as the second objective. And the third objective is to upgrade our county-owned electric vehicle charging infrastructure. And this is also a near-term goal. We hope to have that infrastructure upgraded by 2023. And then lastly, the fifth goal for policy and planning activities around mitigation and adaptation. By 2025, we want to update the county general plan and other planning documents in county departments and special districts to maximize carbon sequestration and adaptation. And we have an important project that I'm going to talk about in a minute that furthers that goal. And then the second objective is to develop policies to maximize carbon sequestration and minimize loss of natural carbon sinks and incentivize collaboration with private and public landowners. And this project I'm going to talk about also supports that second objective. So moving on, we do have some projects that I want to share with you. We'll talk a little bit about the municipal greenhouse gas inventory we're working on. We're also going to be embarking on a carbon sequestration study. a municipal waste, a zero waste inventory and plan. As you probably are aware, the board has approved funding for climate and resiliency projects, and I'll give you an update on that. The climate resilient land strategy is the one I was referring to a moment ago that supports our efforts to maximize sequestration and minimize loss of carbon sequestering habitat. And then I'll talk a little bit about a low interest septic upgrade loan program we're developing, and then hoping that we can partner a bit on climate and resiliency engagement. So I will try to move through these quickly because I know you have a lot of things on your plate, but to just update you on our municipal greenhouse gas inventory, we hope to release an RFP late this month, possibly into next month. Our current greenhouse gas data at the county is a bit outdated, and it's segmented in ways that make it difficult to build a cohesive reduction plan. So we are looking to create a rigorous and detailed greenhouse gas inventory that is robust enough to support third-party verification should we choose to go down that path. The project overall is going to include metrics that we will track and a mechanism for doing that tracking, and we expect to make that tracking available to the public. And then the contract itself will also include training for county staff so that they can operate and maintain the inventory and report on the metrics. We expect that developing the inventory is going to leave us in a better position to achieve the 2030 carbon neutrality goal that the board has set for us. And I want to point out that we are aligning our work with our CPA's community-wide greenhouse gas inventory effort. We know that you also have a parallel effort underway, and the hope is that all of our work together will put the county in a better place to move forward accountably and transparently on our climate mitigation efforts. Hand in hand with looking at our greenhouse gas inventory, we want to have a really good understanding of the potential for carbon sequestration within our natural and working lands. We'll be releasing an RFP for this project a little bit later after we've got the greenhouse gas inventory RFP out the door. The carbon sequestration study will help us pull together a wealth of existing data and efforts that are already in place but haven't been clearly aligned, so that we can better understand sequestration potential in the county and build that into our efforts to achieve the 2030 neutrality goal. In doing this, we expect to be partnering with other departments within the county, with other government partners such as yourselves, and also with community-based organizations. And we believe that the results of the carbon sequestration study will better inform our climate action activities, within the county, but also be a useful tool for others as you're planning your climate action work coming up. Our municipal zero waste inventory plan is more inward looking. This is another project we'll be releasing an RFP for later in the year. We are collaborating with Zero Waste Sonoma on the development of the RFP, and expect that it'll produce an inventory of the county's municipal waste streams, and we'll use that inventory to create a plan that will help us achieve zero waste in the county's facilities. We'll be looking at both upstream and downstream solutions, and we're anxious to learn from from the work that the city has done and that others have done as we bring this forward. I mentioned that the county board dedicated some funding for climate action and resilience projects. The Climate Resilience Fund was established with $10 million from a settlement with PG&E for the 2017 fires. We brought some recommendations to the board in early February, and the board allocated the first round of funding from that $10 million pot. Little over $5 million were awarded for 13 projects. There were 3 projects that were submitted that did not get funding in that first round, but 13 did. And the selection of the projects was based on a framework that Anna and I put together that has 3 primary areas where it evaluates the performance of project proposals against policy objectives set by the board. The first area is what we call the CARE area. It's climate action, resilience, and equity. There is an area that looks at alignment with other pillars of this board's strategic plan. And then lastly, how well the project strategically leverages external resources and partnerships. All of those factors are evaluated and give an overall project score. That project score is divided into the total dollars, county dollars requested for the project, and gives us a measure of the cost effectiveness of the project. The projects were ranked based on their relative cost effectiveness, and we made recommendations to the board based on that. For the 6 projects that weren't funded, those are still in the running for funding. Anna and I have been working with the county departments that proposed projects for funding, and we're working with them to refocus the projects, to bring in some better external leveraging of dollars and also outside partnerships, and hope to be bringing some recommendations to the board later this summer regarding those projects. And then depending on what the funding availability looks like, we may also bring some additional projects as well. And I should mention that all of these projects were projects that were brought forward by county departments and agencies. Some of them were in partnership with other external partners, but these were all internal projects. Some of the ones that were funded that might be of interest to you include funding that was awarded to Zero Waste Sonoma in partnership with Transportation and Public Works to develop a model ordinance for construction and demolition waste. And once that ordinance is, the model ordinance is developed, it will be shared with all of the RCPA members and participants in Zero Waste Sonoma, so that should you wish to adopt an ordinance for construction demolition debris, you will have a model ordinance to work with. In addition, funding was awarded to Sonoma Water for a drought resiliency plan, and funds were awarded to improve the energy efficiency and install renewable energy and storage at the Santa Rosa Veterans Building. And funds were also dedicated to provide a local match for UCCE and a group of partners to pursue building a community food network to increase food resilience during emergencies. I mentioned that we have a climate resilient land strategy that we are working on. This is a strategy that looks at our natural lands, our working lands, and urban green spaces. as a system to identify ways that that system could be its most resilient to provide maximum benefits to the animals and the plants in the system, but also to the people who live within or near these lands. And so we embarked on this strategy last fall. This is in partnership with the Agriculture and Open Space District, and Eastern Research Group is the contractor putting the strategy together. We worked through the winter with some technical and implementation advisory groups on building the technical inputs to the strategy. In the spring, did some outreach and engagement with focus groups and initiated a more formal engagement with our local tribes. We just received and are now reviewing the initial draft of the strategy, and we'll be providing comments back to our contractor later this week. We expect to have a public workshop and receive input on the strategy, revise it, and bring it to the board later this summer. The strategy addresses not only the open spaces that exist now, but considers, for example, where connected green corridors could best be situated through our built environment, and that would include through some of the city territory to improve the resilience of the overall natural land system, and also to improve the benefits that are afforded to all of our residents in terms of not just access to those green spaces, but protections against heat island effect, extreme heat, flooding, and in some instances, additional fire protection as well. And so we're really looking forward to releasing this strategy. We expect it will be helpful not only for those of us in the county family, but also for many of our partners as we're seeking to move forward to the most resilient future that we can create. I mentioned that we're starting up a water resources function within the Climate Action and Resiliency group in CAO. And one of the big efforts that we're undertaking is developing a low interest septic upgrade loan program. We're applying to administer this loan program on behalf of the county. Jane and I have been working with the Regional Water Board on the general scoping of what this effort is going to be. It's a program that is actually offered through the State Water Board. It provides low interest loans to individual property owners who have to undertake septic upgrades in order to comply with the upcoming TMDL standard. There will also be new sewer hookups, and hooking up, going from septic to sewer is the preferred compliance path, but there will be quite a few instances where properties will not have the option of connecting to sewer. And in those instances, we hope to be able to offer a low interest loan to help them upgrade their existing septic to a better performing septic system. The program will be developed and implemented collaboratively between the Energy and Sustainability team and our new water resources function. And as I mentioned, we're really interested in doing some additional engagement and outreach around climate and resiliency. We would like to partner with others wherever we can. We are hoping to hold a climate town hall in in this year, likely in the fall. We don't have a set date yet, but we are starting to look at that. The last climate town hall that the county held was in April of 2021. So it feels like it's a good time to go back out and take the pulse. We have an interesting situation at the county in that most of our climate goals are inward looking for county operations, but there are a few that are very outward looking. And it's really important that we engage with our partners and with the community at large as we move forward on implementing those goals. And so we would look forward to collaborating with you to maximize outcomes for all of us, and also are collaborating with our CPA, of course, on this. In terms of other opportunities for collaboration, top of the list right now is coordinated transit incentives and promotions. This is something Anna has been working on with some of your transit folks, along with City of Petaluma and our CPA and our county transit. This is an outgrowth of the proposal that our county transit operation put in for climate resilience funding to do a fare free pilot program to make all of county transit fare free for a defined period of time, and collect some data on where we get the best improvement in ridership as a result of that fare free effort. And one of the directions the board gave to staff was to explore whether there was an opportunity to make the fare free pilot truly countywide, in that it would also involve Santa Rosa City Bus and Petaluma Transit as well. And so there have been some conversations that have been going on between the different transit providers, and Anna has been working with them, and we're hoping that we are able to pull together a revised proposal to bring back to the board for funding later this summer, as I had mentioned. So we're really looking forward to our future collaboration on that. In addition, because of some of the work that our energy and sustainability group does around the energy independence program, around BayREN, we would really like to coordinate with you on community education and engagement surrounding REACH codes for energy. And in particular, we would like to collaborate on energy resilience in multifamily residences. Jane also mentioned that she would be super excited to work with the county on green business certification for some of the city's programs and businesses. And I mentioned earlier, climate resilient community corridors that is developing linked green spaces through the built environment. It holds a whole host of benefits that we can chat about if you're interested in some of the details. The city did support a funding request we made on this in this area as well. Irrespective of whether that funding request goes anywhere, we believe there's a lot of benefit in collaboratively developing these corridors, and would like to explore that with you. And as I mentioned, collaboration on climate and resilience outreach. So this is, other than a wrap-up slide that tells you who we are and how to get a hold of us, this is the conclusion of what I was going to present, and I'd love to open it up for questions.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Are there any questions from the subcommittee or staff? Yes, Councilwoman McDonald.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rogers. I just want to make a comment. This is my first meeting on climate action, and so I appreciate the work that the county is doing. And really, my question was more around what is our role in the county's efforts, and how do we partner better? Or do you reach out to our staff so that we can work on coordinated efforts in the work that we're doing and implementing some of the plans? I'm just not clear on how we actually do this work, or what a council person's role in this. And so maybe you can shed just a little bit of light on that before we go. And maybe the next presentation will help with that as well. So if you could just give me that information.
Thank you for the question. It's an excellent question. We do coordinate staff to staff, but we also welcome when a council member has a priority issue or area, or is interested in engaging on some of these initiatives, we would very much welcome your participation. But as I mentioned, we are actively partnering right now with your transit providers so that we can explore developing a true, fair, free pilot program for all of transit in Sonoma County. And Anna is our lead on that in the Climate Action and Resilience office, but Brian Albee at Sonoma County Transit's involved, and Anna can talk a little bit more if you want to hear more about that effort. Jane also routinely collaborates with city staff on a host of energy and sustainability issues, and I'm sure she is ready to speak to all of those if you want to hear more about the collaboration that goes on. I'm interested in hearing from the subcommittee how you might want to be involved in some of the bigger picture things that we're talking about. For example, how would you want to engage with us on a town hall if we wanted to open it up so that not only is it county folks, but also some of our other government partners presenting at that town hall? We would like to make climate action and resilience efforts across the county as integrated as possible, without in any way usurping the important role that RCPA plays. We do think that the more closely we link our arms in this effort, the better our success is going to be.
Yes, I think that we would definitely love to work together on our goals that we have in common. Our community members have actually expressed an interest in seeing collaboration between the city and the county, and us being able to put our resources together. I think combining resources, it allows us to go a lot farther and to not duplicate some of the same efforts if we know how to divide and conquer what it is that we're trying to do. So we're not doing the same things. So the mayor's on, and he hasn't stopped me from talking yet. So I'm going to assume that I am on the right track in saying that collaboration is always great, and we always are open to the possibility of collaborating with our partners in the community. Yeah,
and if I could just add, Councilman McDonald, the city does have a community-wide climate action plan, as well as a municipal climate action plan that were completed, I believe, in 2013, 2014 timeframe. Those are, of course, due for an update, and they will be they'll be addressed as part of this larger effort as we move forward with the general plan update for the city. Those strategic documents do really highlight some of the objectives for the city in climate action planning. And of course, those definitely go hand in glove with what is going on at a region-wide level. And so, of course, especially just even our staff here in the water department and other departments, we do coordinate often with Jane and others on a lot of those strategies as well too. So there is a lot of cross-pollination going on at a staff level.
That's great. So a couple things, you're right. We're working on our general plan right now. So I would love to know what the county is doing as far as general plan in regards to, you were talking about carbon neutral building. And as we move forward, I think in the Planning Commission, whatever data and information we can share, you can share with the city as we move forward in updating our general plan would be helpful, so that we are in alignment on what the county might be requiring and what maybe some of the ideas that you have around that. I think that would be one way we could partner. Project Greenway is something that the county could be really helpful in, I think, as we move forward on that bike path that goes through, because it's state-owned property. So I think partnering with us on that particular bike pathway to get that to finally go through up to Howarth Park and over to Spring Lake would be, I think, really ideal when we're looking at encouraging, walking and riding bikes and the ability for folks to get across town. Definitely anything around biking, that's our next item that's coming up. It's one of the things we consistently hear that we need to partner. And I know there's a lot of different roads that we will put some money behind, but then it attaches to maybe a county road. But I think anything that you can do to help partner so that we can then really get to that opportunity of really connecting those roads all together, no matter who owns the streets, would be great. And then I would also be interested in what you're doing for staff as far as allowing them to be at home and work from home to reduce a carbon footprint, or what you're doing around supporting their efforts to maybe do a carbon neutral like a car. I don't know, you have subsidies for them to get electric cars, or what it is that the county is doing. But I think that may be an interesting topic, I think, as we're kind of moving from COVID, to know how many people can actually work from home at least a few days a week, and how that actually helps reduce carbon footprint and emissions. So I think everything that you've given us today was really great, but those were some of the things that came up during your presentation that I noted could be really helpful as we're looking at our step as well on climate.
So in the interest of time, I think what we'll do is we'll get some succinct answers back to you. I do know that there is a planning group that does meet on a regular basis through our CPA that includes city planners and county planners and others. So I think there is a lot of coordination going on there. The county board will be considering, I think next month, it just considered the telework policy. I'm messing up my days. And so we have a new telework policy. It does lay out, how telework will be implemented going forward now that we're moving back into regular time. And we can certainly share that with you. We have other commute program work that's underway, and as well as work on carbon neutral buildings and that sort of thing. So I'm happy to get that information to you.
And if I can just add real quick too, I know a part of the new telework policy that we just adopted is this new tracking system where staff can input, days that they've teleworked that removed a car trip. And so it will calculate for us in total, CO2 saved by this new telework policy. And as well for like the user side, it's kind of funny. It has, I think, also like calories burned if you biked or if you walked, some other funny metrics, but it is definitely centered around, what are the climate impacts of this new telework policy that we have just recently adopted.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? All right. So we now will be taking public comment. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. You will have 3 minutes. And Ms. Roberta, can you take it away?
Yes, we have one hand raised, Eris Weaver. Ms. Weaver, I'll allow you to speak and you can go ahead and unmute.
Okay, thanks. Just tagging off of what Councilmember McDonald brought up, I have to say I was a little disappointed to not see any mention of active transportation in that whole climate goals overview pillars thing. And I actually just emailed you both because I would love to talk with you further, both Barbara and Jane, about possible ways to collaborate, particularly the Green Business Program, because we've got a bike friendly program, and I think there could be some overlap things to happen there. And I am interested in hearing more. You know, I've sat through presentations from RCPA about their whole plan, which of course they don't have any authority to act on. And so how all these different plans intersect, because I hear so many of our jurisdictions talking a lot about a priority around climate, and then what I actually see happening on the ground from my perspective with active transportation is so inadequate in terms of addressing that goal of being carbon neutral by 2030. The other thing I have is sort of a question, I guess, is the new buzzword in all of this now seems to be resilience or climate resilience. And I know what that word means in some other contexts, but I have to say I'm not entirely certain what it means in this context. So that would be an interesting thing to hear more about. But again, I can always take that answer from you offline if the committee needs to move along. Thanks.
We also have Kevin Conway with his hand raised. Mr. Conway, you've been allowed to speak and you can go ahead and unmute.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry I tuned in a little bit late for this meeting, but I'm a little confused by it. I don't. Two of the members of Santa Rosa's Climate Action Subcommittee are not there, with Chris and Eddie Alvarez not being there. So I don't know if this meeting has an official quorum. And I've never seen the county represented so well at the Climate Action Subcommittee meetings. And I don't know whether this is the result of the county having formed. I know there was going to be an entirely new department with a new position that has to do with sustainability. And I'm curious as to whether or not the people representing the county are in that role now. I guess I've lost touch with what has happened with that new county department having to do with energy and sustainability. So anyway, I don't know if you can formally address these questions of mine or not because of the way the interaction has to work. But if you can, I'd certainly be interested in hearing the answers to the items I raised. Thank you.
Councilmember Rogers, those are the only hands that I see raised. Oh, Mr. Conway, did you have something else to say? No, okay, so that's all the hands that are raised.
Thank you. And just for a point of clarification, the members of the subcommittee have changed. Councilwoman McDonald is now a member of the Climate Action Subcommittee. Welcome. And Mayor Rogers is on the line and he is attending the meeting, although he is not able to chair the meeting currently, so I am chairing. So the three of us are on and we do have a quorum. And we are thankful that the county representatives were here to let us know what is going on with the county and also offer a hand out for us to collaborate with them, which we hope to take them up on that offer in additional capacities, as we've already been collaborating in many capacities already. So thank you very much for your presentation and taking the time to come here today. Barbara, Anna, and Jane. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will be moving Oh, well, now it looks like I will be calling item 4.2 and handing it off to Mr. Peter Burton.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Rogers. Item 4.2 is bicycle and pedestrian master plan update and an annual report on their progress. As you know, climate strategies and reducing total vehicle miles traveled is an important climate strategy for the city. Presenting today will be Nancy Adams, transportation planner, as well as Bjorn Griepenberg from Public Works.
Thank you, Peter, and welcome committee members and members of the public. So the way we're going to work this is I now have a team of active transportation planners to address and to help shepherd through all the good things that means. And that meant the council last year, actually 2 years ago, budgeted the Bjorn's position. So we're really happy that he has joined the team. So he and I are going to team speak through the slide deck. We have a few slides, and once we're through, we're happy to answer any questions and hear any comments from our community. So with that said, I'm going to this is something that staff has just started to do. The council, just a little bit of background, council member McDonald is relatively new to the council, but in 2019, the council adopted the bicycle and pedestrian master plan. And so one of the items that were called out in the plan was, sorry, I'm not at home and I have a puppy that wants out. So one of the items that's included in the plan is providing our bicycle, pedestrian, bicycle advisory board and an update of how we're doing with the implementation of the plan that the council just adopted. So this was presented to our board, our Bike and Ped board in, I think it's January or February. It's our second report. So we thought it would be a good thing to connect this conversation with the Climate Action Subcommittee, because there's a lot of climate action strategies, GHG reduction strategies that are identified in the Climate Action Plan, these policies and our Bike and Ped Master Plan help us implement. So, reducing our combustion and, trying to achieve carbon neutrality. So there was a conversation about how we work with, our government partnerships as part of the last item. And the county, the Sonoma County Transportation Authority, has a countywide bicycle and pedestrian advisory group that has members from all the jurisdictions within the county. And so we meet as a group to talk about, all the active transportation functions within the county. So it's a great group. This really a good news story is they just were awarded, I think, about $500,000 to actually update the countywide Bike and Ped master plan. So that's a real good vision that they're going to be working on over the next couple of years. So quite excited about that. So I'm going to go to just a real quick about our plan. We look and track what we're doing in terms of infrastructure and corridor studies. We have several programs and policies identified in the plan, and then we also have some performance metrics. Next slide, please. So some of this I've already spoken about. The goal is to try to increase the access and the comfort of our bicycle and pedestrian networks, and those are shown on the next slide, Bjorn. And then maintain and expand the network, and then just support a culture of walking and biking within Santa Rosa. So, when we look at the functions of the plan, those are the things that we're trying to accomplish, overarching goals. So next slide, please. So as part of the conversation, that that was almost a 2-year process. What landed up by happening is the plan includes what we call a phase 1. And this is a list of projects that were prioritized based on, project delivery, community input, just really the importance of how they would serve our bicycle and pedestrian network connections. And so what this map is here, a little hard to kind of decipher, but it's a several infrastructure projects, and I can just call out a couple. We have the bike and pedestrian overcrossing at Highway 101 there at the junior college, and the Connie Town Mall. And I'm sure that the council has heard quite a bit about that project. But that was one of the major phase 1 projects that in terms of infrastructure that came out of that discussion. There are also corridor studies. There were, I think, 8+ studies that were identified in the plan. And why these were identified is because we didn't have the bandwidth to really do a deep dive into these individual corridors. So they were identified as corridors to be studied, once the plan was adopted. And subsequently, we've actually, completed an analysis for Stony Point Road, 3rd Street down to Sebastopol Road, which was the top priority for our Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Board. So that was done last year. That was completed last year, and we're currently working on some other studies here over the last 4 or 5 months for College, 4th Street, Montgomery, and Roseland and Dutton areas. So next slide, please, Bjorn. So I'm going to hand this off now to Bjorn, and he'll go through the next several slides, and then I'll close out.
All right, great. Thank you, Nancy. So I'm just going to quickly, like Nancy said, this presentation is given annually to our Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Board, and they're somewhat familiar with this subject matter, so I'll do my best to try not to use any terminology that you might not be familiar with. So we've got the projects, several highlights here, some infrastructure projects that were implemented in 2021, and I'm just going to walk through some of those, some of the new bicycle and pedestrian projects you might see around town. So we've got some protected bike, a section of protected bike lane on Ridgeway Avenue, right near Santa Rosa High School, between Glen Street and Armory Drive. This was a really exciting project that was actually the first parking protected bike lane in all of Sonoma County. And this was implemented as part of a slurry seal paving project. Basically what we did there was we pushed the angled parking out away from the curb and put the bike lanes in between the angled parking and the sidewalk. So rather than the bicycle lane protecting the vehicle parking, you've now got the parked cars protecting the bicycle lane. We were also able to implement 3.2 miles of upgraded bike lanes on pretty long stretches of Hohen Avenue, Summerfield Road, and Bethards Drive as part of our pavement preventative maintenance program. What we did there was, again, this is a paving project, or these were paving projects, and we were able to narrow the travel lanes to gain a little bit of extra width and then buffer the bike lanes. So those used to just be standard, probably 5 or 6 foot wide bike lanes, and they are now 6 feet wide with 2 foot painted buffers. Or in the case of Summerfield Road, there was actually a pretty lengthy stretch where we eliminated 1 travel lane in each direction and provided an extremely wide buffer for the bike lanes. Part of that Ridgeway project on the other side of the street, just a normal class 2 bike lane, couldn't go protected on that side because of we didn't have enough width, and there were some other challenges. Our crews just finished up about 2/10 of a mile of a new sidewalk, filling a really important gap on Guerneville Road between Ridley Avenue and Marlowe Road. And then we have 8 locations where we provided crossing enhancements, the most noteworthy being the new signalized crossing for the SMART Trail at Hearn Avenue. So when that trail originally opened, there was no bicycle or pedestrian crossing, despite there being trail on either side of the road. And so that's that signalized crossing is a major improvement. Also note just a handful of rectangular rapid flashing beacons. Those are the flashers at crosswalks. You can hit a button and then it lights up and helps bring more awareness for drivers that there's someone waiting to cross the road. This is just a snapshot of where we stand in our bicycle and pedestrian master plan. So the master plan is unconstrained in its vision for infrastructure improvements. It does not, it identifies basically every improvement that we could possibly make to our roadway network. And so obviously it's a long-term planning document. And as you can see here, we still have a lot of work to do. And you look at you look at that last column there for the remaining mileage for each of these types of bicycle facilities. So we're chipping away, and but definitely still lots of work to do. This is a graphic showing how far we've come over the last 20 plus years, just showing the evolution of our bike network here in Santa Rosa. I'll let it run through a couple of times just so you can kind of see just how much mileage we've added every 5 years or so. And moving along. So there's a list of projects that we have slated for 2022. Buffered bike lanes on Range Avenue up near Cottingtown Mall. Probably the project that some of you might be familiar with. We're really excited about the road diet on Santa Rosa Avenue, south of downtown, between Sonoma Avenue and basically between Sonoma Avenue and Highway 12. That will eliminate one travel lane in each direction and add buffered bike lanes to that stretch. Those two Sonoma Avenue projects are actually, I think, now delayed to 2023, but the goal in both of those is to add buffered bike lanes to those stretches. And then a couple of other pretty short short gap closure projects on Range Avenue and B Street, and then a couple of crossing enhancements on Santa Rosa Avenue as part of that corridor project that I just mentioned. Both of those crossing enhancements will add a median refuge, so that as a pedestrian, when you cross Santa Rosa Avenue, you'll have a place out in the median where you can wait for traffic to yield to you. And those are great because they shorten the crossing distance, and they also they make the crosswalk a little bit more visible, and they do kind of, I think, have a traffic calming effect. An exciting update, Nancy just alluded to this a couple of minutes ago. Continue to make progress on the Highway 101 bicycle and pedestrian overcrossing. So the city thus far has secured over 15 million in grant funding, or I should say, no, that was 15 million in grant funding that was secured last year, in addition to some previous grant funding. We have completed environmental review and are currently working on design. Construction is expected to run from late 2023 to late 2025. Nancy also mentioned corridor studies. So our plan, I believe it was 12 or 13 corridor studies where we needed to do some additional community engagement and or analysis before deciding what improvements were maybe appropriate for a certain location. We've made some really good progress, gotten a bunch of those underway, and I just want to call out a couple of quick highlights. The top priority for our bicycle and pedestrian advisory board was that in that second row there at Stony Point Road between Sebastopol Road and West 3rd Street. That's a stretch of road where we've had a higher rate of severe and fatal collisions. And so that's, our board recognized that as their top priority. We've completed that study, and we're now looking to apply for grant funding to install protected bike lanes along that entire stretch, and also incorporate several to modify several intersections, most notably the Joe Rodota Trail crossing, where we would eliminate that. There's a free right turn for the eastbound Highway 12 on-ramp that if you've ever crossed, if you ever use the Joe Rodota Trail and cross that intersection, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So we would eliminate that free right turn and really shorten that crossing distance for Joe Rodota Trail users, and lots of other enhancements at all of the on and off ramps along that stretch. Another notable study that I think people will be excited to hear about, 4th Street between Brookwood Avenue and Bryden Lane. Our current plans there would be to do a road diet and take that down from 2 lanes in each direction to 1 lane in each direction, with a 2-way center turn lane and buffered bike lanes. And I think those were the kind of the highlights I wanted to touch on from this slide. I believe I'm now passing it back to Nancy.
You are. Thanks, Bjorn. So before I jump into a couple of things, I did want to kind of piggyback on, Bjorn did a great job of describing some of the infrastructure that we're getting installed within the city. So I was really happy to see and that we have about 35% of our capital improvement program budget for 22-23 is for bikes and peds. So that's, I think we're doing a great job of really trying to carve out more funds to help us build these projects. So anyway, just a quick note on that. And I will talk a little bit now about policies and programs, and then touch very quickly on performance metrics, and then we'll open it up for questions. So don't want to read through all the policies and programs that, that we've been working on. I did want to mention that the scooter share and the bike share programs are expected to be launched this summer. So we're getting very close. So that's a very exciting element that will be coming in the downtown Railroad Square area. And Bjorn has been very helpful in securing some funds from the Air District for some additional bike parking in the downtown area as well. So those probably will get installed next year, getting through that process. And then just another follow-up with 2 other items. Bjorn mentioned that the corridor studies that we've been working on. And so council, I think probably late July, we'll be seeing a couple items, and we've put them on the council item or council night together just because they're so related. You'll see the Vision Zero action plan that was something that was developed with the Sonoma County Transportation Authority and the County Department of Health Services. So that will be on. And then in addition to that, we're going to be also presenting a report item on our local road safety plan, which, we've mentioned a couple of the corridors, Stony Point Road, 4th Street, College, Dutton, and Roseland. So the council will be seeing those late this summer. And we are, as a result of this work, we're going to be looking for additional money for the corridor study enhancements that have come out of those work efforts. So I think it's more to come, hopefully, in terms of funding. I think this year's really a great boost for bike and ped projects in our capital improvement program. So real excited about that. So with that, Bjorn will close out with a performance metric. And really, this is just items that are identified in the plan. And Bjorn, now that Bjorn's on staff, I think we're going to make some good progress. Not that we haven't already, but getting the bike parking, he's already getting us an additional 100 racks. So we're making progress on just trying to really make that mode shift recognizable, and just let Santa Rosa be a leader in moving more people out of their cars and onto bikes and walking modes, right? So he's really starting to engage on, just the accounting program, which I think will help us quite a bit to tease out how much we are, walking and biking. I know I'm a member, I'm a resident of Santa Rosa, and every time I'm out, I see people walking and I see people riding and rolling. So it's, that it's there. And I'm just happy to be part of the Santa Rosa's organization to help foster that and, keep it moving forward. So with that, I will close and answer any questions that we can. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you both for your presentation. Subcommittee, does anyone have any questions of staff? Seeing none. We are now taking public comment on item 4.2. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. You will have 3 minutes. Ms. Roberta, can you please take it away?
Our first speaker is Alexa Forrester. Ms. Forrester, I'll allow you to speak. You can go ahead and unmute.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? My name is Alexa Forrester, and I just wanted to take a few seconds at the beginning of my comment to say thank you. Mayor Rogers, I read your piece in the Southeast Greenway News about the climate impacts of that project. And then shortly after that, I went to the community listening session that Councilwoman Rogers put together with our new manager. And then the day after that, I was marching alongside Councilmember Alvarez, who I know is no longer on this committee, in the May Day March. And I've watched Councilwoman McDonald as you have asked wonderful questions as you brought yourself up to speed. And it's just so great to see council members so involved in the community, even after hours and on weekends and all of that. So thank you for all of that. And I just wanted to mention also thank you to Nancy Adams and Bjorn Wiebenberg for that great presentation and all the work that you've been doing. I am a person who would like to get around primarily by bike or bus, and I've done both to get from my home to my place of work at the JC, and also to move my family around. And so I appreciate the improvements that have been happening. But I did want to bring to the subcommittee's attention, especially Bjorn, as you had put out the improvements over the last 20 years, most of what's going in is class 2 bike lanes, which are unprotected bike lanes on high-speed roads. And there's really good research that shows that only about 2 to 3% of the population deemed fearless riders. These are like the people I picture in spandex, like really trying to get to the mountains really fast, right? These people will ride on that bike infrastructure, and regular, everyday, non-super athletic people like myself with kids are not going to use that infrastructure. Just as an example, there's a class 2 bikeway or bike lane on Mendocino Avenue, and I would never ride on that. As I was driving with my husband to the Finley Center for the listening session, Council Member Rogers, I counted 5 cyclists riding on sidewalks because they didn't have any place to go that was safe for them to ride. So I just want to say, as we look forward to our future investments, I don't think we should bother putting in a lot of class 2 bicycle lanes. I think we need protected bicycle lanes, especially if the speed limits on the roads are faster than 25 miles per hour. Thanks for listening, and have a wonderful afternoon.
Our next speaker is Eris Weaver. Ms. Weaver, I'll allow you to talk, so you can go ahead and unmute.
All right, thanks. The joke around my house is that I get paid to complain. And so I'm actually going to start with the good stuff and leave the complaining for the second half of my comments. I am so happy to see the progress that's being made about inventorying and getting more bike parking, because that is a barrier for folks trying to do errands. Not being able to have a secure place to put their bike. Happy to see that the most recent projects have included buffered or protected bike lanes, which hadn't been being done in the city before. Happy that there's movement on the 101 overcrossing project. That's been over 10 years that we've been looking at that. And I do know that transportation projects take time to design and to get money to fund and to build, but I do have to echo a little bit of what the previous speaker said in terms of if you look at the actual experience on the street, 7 miles of paint over, a few years doesn't feel like a huge amount of progress, and that's not going to get us to carbon zero by 2030 in terms of getting more people on bikes. It's an improvement, yes, but it feels like things are moving slower than really needs to happen. I was also very involved along the whole Vision Zero project, and I'm very happy to hear that it's going to be coming before council, because I seem to remember hearing you say, Nancy, at some meeting that you weren't going to bring it to the council. So I'm glad that you are, and I'm really hoping that the city adopts it and takes it not just lip service, but takes it seriously as a guiding principle, and puts more funding into the kind of projects that are going to actually result not just in more people getting on their bikes, but fewer people dying on our streets. Thanks.
Our next speaker is Chris Unthurr, and you have been allowed to speak. You can go ahead and unmute.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you, Councilmember Rogers, Mayor Rogers, other members of the subcommittee and staff for the chance to speak today. I live in Montgomery Village with my family, and I'm part of a group of citizens that have come together from across the city to advocate for faster and more ambitious effort to create a sustainable transportation system that meets the needs of all residents. In particular, we ask you do everything possible to accelerate the implementation of a safe, low stress, and complete, and I emphasize complete, bicycle network connecting all parts of the city. Such a network would not only drive progress toward our climate goals, which are only growing more urgent, obviously, but also toward many of the council's other stated objectives. As we all know, the time and expense involved in maintaining a car are significant. In the absence of viable alternatives, many citizens are deprived of equal access to the benefits that mobility brings, including social and economic opportunities that are fundamental to the well-being of individuals and families. Providing an effective multimodal transportation system will also dramatically improve the safety and usability of our streets, reduce congestion, fewer collisions, fewer injuries and fatalities, and reduced air and noise pollution are all consistent with the council's goal to create a safer, healthier community for all. Lastly, as countless other cities have shown, improving walkability and bikeability can be a catalyst for significantly enhancing economic and community vibrancy. Getting people out of their cars and onto the streets, attracting new residents and visitors, bringing people together across economic and cultural boundaries, and creating the conditions for new kinds of businesses, public events, or experiences. These are precisely the changes that are needed to strengthen our community and our resilience so we can thrive in spite of the many challenges we face. To be clear, I know all of this aligns with the vision laid out by the existing bike and pedestrian master plan, and I'm excited and grateful for the many improvements already being made to infrastructure around the city, including those highlighted today. The new 101 overpass, the addition of new buffered bike lanes on several key routes, and improved crossings and street markings are each integral to the system we envision. And I applaud the efforts of city staff and many advocates who've worked for years to get these things done. However, we need to move much faster, and we need to move much farther to ensure we're developing a network that is complete and effective, and which will deliver these benefits as soon as possible, not at some faraway date or never at all. I urge the city to be bold, creative, and relentless, and I want you to know we're here to help. Thanks.
And those are all the hands that I see raised.
Thank you. And thank you, Nancy and Bjorn, for coming today and presenting. Before we move on from your item, I just wanted to say that South Wright Road going across Highway 12 is dangerous getting to a place to play. So that is very, very dangerous. So it is like Chris said, having the connections, and I know we're preaching to the choir, but getting when we have bike lanes in certain areas and then they don't connect in different areas. It's really hard for people to get around. And also, when we were looking at some of the budget things, we were talking about some technology, and maybe some of that technology can help us get some of the people off the road that are not abiding by some of the laws that we have that help to keep people that are biking and pedestrians safe. So maybe that's something else that we can possibly look at as a city, because we need a combined effort from everyone to keep pedestrians and bikers safe. We can't just make bike lanes and assume that people are going to be safe, because a lot of people are not paying very close attention when they're driving nowadays. There are too many distractions, which doesn't really work. So going to item 5.1, future agenda items.
Sure, I can provide some updates. Thank you, Councilmember Rogers. At your upcoming meeting in June, we will have some department updates on sustainability, some sustainability events, including the Water Smart Expo planned in June. I do want to note that I was contacted by communications and outreach staff from our RCPA, the Sonoma County Regional Climate Protection Authority. And they are interested in presenting to this board, along with others throughout the county, about climate challenges facing Sonoma County and how they're utilizing the Sonoma Climate Mobilization Strategy to mitigate some of those challenges. They'll be seeking input from the community, including this committee, on potential funding efforts and defining a vision essentially for climate resiliency throughout Sonoma County. So we'll be adding that to the June 8th agenda. It's not reflected in the document that was provided in the agenda today. And then on July 13th, we will provide a Recology update, an update from Recology, and you'll hear from staff of the city on SB 1383 compliance and zero waste updates. So some more fun to come in the upcoming meetings. That concludes my update on upcoming meetings.
Perfect, thank you. Any members of the subcommittee have any questions of staff? All right. So we'll now open it up for public comment on item 5.1. If you would like to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand, and you will have 3 minutes to address the subcommittee.
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time.
Seeing none, I would like to wish everyone a happy, wonderful evening, and we will adjourn. Thank you so much.